Welcome back to Diamond Talk with Average Dudes Slowpitch. This is going to be kind of that third and final part here of, we'll call it, of episode 1, bringing Chris and Jake back just to kind of close things out, touch on a few more topics that we want to talk about. When we first started this, we didn't expect that this would last very long. We're like, hey guys, I want to hop on for 30, 40 minutes at most. We'll chat, figure it out. Next thing you knew, we were talking for nearly 2 hours. I'm not putting a 2-hour episode out. No, I'm definitely not that interesting. I don't even know if I'm interesting enough to have this in the first place. Don't know if they are either, but again, it's a nice way just to get some additional information out, why the channel's around, what our purpose is, some different topics and how we feel about them, and having multiple opinions. That'll be why we have other people on this channel throughout. Again, if you want to be on the podcast at some point, reach out to me via messages, whatever. We'll talk, see kind of, hey, where do you play ball? What levels do you play ball? That kind of stuff. The level you play ball has no impact on you being able to be on here. Again, it's an Average Dudes channel. It's just so I have an idea of kind of who you are and what we're going to get accomplished with you here on the channel for that. So again, let's bring Chris and Jake back in, finish up some topics there, and then officially close out all the parts here to episode 1.
I don't think compression matters to most softball players. The vast majority, it doesn't matter. They just don't test because directors aren't going out and spending $1,000, $1,300 on a tester. I know, Hendo, you and I both bought one when we started this. We both bought radars. That alone was probably close to $1,800, a piece. I think the compression tester for me, like I like it because it lets me know kind of the durability of the bat. Like, how many swings do I need to put on it before I'm comfortable pulling it out of my bag and swinging it on Saturday morning? Because everybody says they're hot out the wrapper, and a lot of companies, especially as of April 14th, 2024, you can pretty much open up any company's bat out of the wrapper at the ballpark and swing it and be just fine. But keeping that durability piece and breaking them in the right way and protecting your investment is also a very important thing. And the exit velo, I think that's more of just consistency, knowing, hey, you hit on it a while ago with averages and kind of, I'll go back to that 14-inch Jenny because that just seems to what I'm leaning on. But if you hit 100, 100, okay, there's your average all the way up to barrel. Nobody would know that if you weren't, putting a radar on it.
Yep, 100%. So, yeah, completely agree. So that's the reason behind it. Again, if you think it's silly that we do it, or you have suggestions for it, or something you want to see, just drop it in the comments, message, whatever. And if it's an idea, I think we can implement it. Just know I'll bounce it off of both of these guys anyways, like I do with everything else. And if I maybe don't think it's possible or more information or how you want to see that implemented, then I'll reach out to him and we'll figure it out. So cool. And with that, a couple of the things I wanted to just jump into were some of the more frequently asked questions in the past and here in the last actually couple of weeks as well. Chris and Jake might have some stuff to say on this one. This will be pretty quick and to the point. This is just this is all these topics I've had at least 10 or more questions over the last couple months. And so I figure we'll hit on them real quick. But first off, someone's like, hey man, doesn't ever get bored just out there hitting, no music, anything like that. Very quickly, me and Chris learned on first, I think, second video, you can't have music playing out there. So if you've got anything that's copyrighted type music, the video will either get pulled down. It won't be allowed to be kind of monetized. So the ads won't be advertised properly to where you won't see it as like a suggested video. There's lots of issues with YouTube and that. So just understand that's why we hit with no music. We've actually had times where when we're hitting at the Apodaca field, there's stuff going on at the big park that's nearby. And I've had to adjust the microphone volume so it doesn't pick up any of the music over there because we've had videos get messed up from that. So just realize that's why there's no music. I could hit with like my AirPods in or something like that. But at that point, oh well, we just kind of, it's easier to be able to focus on talking to you guys as the viewers and all that kind of stuff. But that's the reason there's no music. The toughest one, and Chris can probably attest this a little bit. Jake obviously doesn't live here, but I don't know how it works in other states. I do know growing up in California, Northern California, as a kid, when I wanted to go play baseball, I could go to any field I wanted. Almost everything was public. There's a couple private schools, sure, you couldn't use theirs. Even the high schools, you could use them because, again, they're public schools. Here in New Mexico, I shouldn't say New Mexico, here in Las Cruces, every single field is locked down. Like, they have locks on it. You have to reserve them. So field access is not an easy thing here. I've just recently got a Connect that has gotten us the ability to use the Apodaca field. So if you're not sure what I'm referencing, it's the grass infield. It's got the trees in left, probably the nicest one we can hit on. And we'll be able to use that for the majority of Sundays for the remainder of the year. Once the summer comes around, baseball's over, we should be able to start getting that one for the nighttime as well as it warms down, as it cools down, so we can hit under the lights. But the reason you see us back out at Dona Ana sometimes is that's outside of city limits. It's a county field. So it's no reservations. You have to be first ones there. So we have to go there middle of the day, which is never ideal because, again, if we go too late, baseball teams come out, stuff like that. And that's why you see us back at that field. And so that's probably why you've seen a lot of fields over the time there. And we don't really have a fix for it. The nicest fields here are Field of Dreams. They're owned by the public schools. We've reached out about hitting BP there because they're not used on Wednesday nights, for instance. And because it's a facility they want to have events at, it's like $150 minimum for the reservation plus the lights are whatever amount per hour, but with a minimum of $100. So we'd have to pay $250 each time we want to hit there. So that's not going to work. And so just understand, we don't have a lot of field access here. We don't have turf fields here. The nearest turf field is to me an hour away, which just doesn't make sense for going out BP wise. Even if we have a lot of bats and I was going to go there and make kind of a day out of it, I could only swing so much in one day before I'm tired. And then the later reviews are going to be bad. So just realize that's where the field access piece comes in. So if you're wondering why, I've had people go, oh man, I wish you were hitting back at Apodaca is the common one people really like. Hey, me too. I would like to use that one all the time. I'm in a city such town that this year alone, they just started online reservations, period. It lasted for exactly 1 month. And then they were unable to correctly block out dates for when the fields weren't available. So twice we booked. They weren't actually available. We weren't allowed to use them. And then now they've basically shut down the online system. You have to go back in person between 8 and 4 during the week. And then you get there and they tell you every field's used because it's baseball season, nothing's open. And then that next couple days you drive by, the fields aren't being used, but they didn't reserve them for you. So just understand we have a bunch of field access issues and doing my best to kind of correct that. Again, I've had a couple connects to make it better, but not a lot of good options. That Apodaca field, I think, is the only grass infield option we even have. And I prefer to be on the grass infields for the overall picture quality, nicer look. And then with that, the reason we don't hit on, and actually they can both talk this one, we don't hit on softball fields necessarily is one, at the elevation, it does, obviously ball flies a little bit more. So 300-foot fields play relatively small. But the goal of the channel is also not to show you kind of how many home runs we can hit type of thing. So when we hit a ball on a line here, hit a ball on a line at 300, it's going to go out. And so what I'm working on going towards, and again, leave in the comments if you think this is something you'd like to see, is I'm working on buying my own temporary fence like you see at like a lot of baseball fields. And we'll put that up at 315 all the way around while we're hitting. So now you've got the baseball field distance. You can see how this bat's performing while also getting kind of a softball field portrayal as far as that goes. But again, at elevation, even if we're subtracting 15 feet off of distance, let's say, or whatever it is for elevation, 300-foot field's just going to play small, and it just doesn't make sense to hit there. The fields me and Chris were using in the beginning were 320, which I think is probably the perfect distance out here. But that's in a different city. I'd have to find someone else to hit with, all that kind of stuff. And so that's kind of where that plays with that piece of it. And I'll let them talk to kind of their opinion on the fields here in just a second. But the very last thing, too, is the reason people ask, like, hey, why don't you ever kind of go backside, or why are you pretty much middle left field all the time? I used to try to set the camera up where you can see the entire field. You just don't get a solid enough, the camera has to be too far back. You don't get a solid enough picture quality, so you can't track the ball all the way out there. When we go to zoom in, it doesn't work great. It pixelates it even more than it already is. And so it just doesn't work great for the video quality. And that's why I've set it up a specific way. Do I know how to go backside? Yes, for the most part. But I will tell you that in times where I've got lots of videos to record, my backside ability definitely drops a little bit as far as like being able to no kidding place it. And so I'm hoping to cut off in bats soon so I can go more to a traditional BP. But something we're going to do here in the near future as we get caught up with bats is set up kind of orange Home Depot cones or buckets at positions on the field so that we can go out there and we're going to play little simulated games with the guys out there. And basically you got to hit the gaps, you got to hit the holes, things like that. You get a little point system, all that kind of fun stuff. And so that's going to be more like a traditional BP. Make some videos. People have asked about, hey, what do you do to kind of either increase your hand speed, or what do you do for practice when you're not doing the videos? Make some videos like that, which shows kind of, I use a lot of T-work stuff and things like that. But just understand that's why it's not a traditional, you can see the whole field and whatnot there. Chris was part of it when we tried that before as well. And we're always like, well, you can't see the ball once it leaves the infield, basically. And that was with an iPhone. Now I do have an actual camera, but it's the same thing. And so just understand that's why it looks that way and it's set up that way. If I ever get caught up, I can probably do it where half the BP session is showing, or 3/4, whatever, the way it is now, and then rotate it so you can see backside and do it that way. But again, on days we have lots of bats to do, it just takes a whole lot of extra time to include all the camera moves and everything like that. So,
yeah. Like, I guess for me, it's like the backside issues. Like, I mean, the channel isn't how can Hendo hit backside or frontside. The channel is like hitting bats. Like, so you're just hitting a ball. Like, and I feel like if you're hitting backside, you're taking some off a little bit. I mean, some guys can hit some guys hit really, really well, probably more power. But as a right-handed batter, your power is going to be center, probably left center. Like, that's going to be probably your power swing anyway. So, I mean, I guess for me, it's like you just want consistency, right? So that's why that camera sits where you put it where it does, and it's just easier for you to hit that every time. So, I mean, I wouldn't get too wrapped around. If you want to learn to hit backside, then go learn to hit backside. It's not, the channel isn't how to fix your swing or how to swing a bat. It's reviews of the bat, right? I mean, I want to say there was some channels before back in the day, man. I can't remember, but it was like literally instructional videos on how to hit, whatever, backside or pull the ball or whatever. But that's not exactly what the channel kind of was supposed to be. So I'm pretty sure no one questions your ability to hit a ball. That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, I mean, to add to that, I mean, you kind of nailed it with this channel was never designed to be instructional with how to hit with Endo. Maybe that's your next YouTube channel. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe spinoff.
But going back to the field issue, I think every single person, depending on what city, state, county, whatever country you live in, the field availability is going to be significantly different. I've been blessed to spend my whole life really, but the last 17 years of active duty military stationed in the Southeast, whether it be North Carolina, South Carolina, or Florida. And, we get to play ball 12 months out of the year. Fields have never been an issue. You want to go hit BP? Everywhere I've lived, it's been first come, first serve. Nobody cares if you have a camera set up or whatever, with the exception of baseball season, which is right now. There's always one field at every park that, the local U14 team or whatever, the all-stars, they get dibs on regardless. I guess Las Cruces is completely different. They lock it down a little bit different. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw, with the exception of like Vera Beach or the turfs in Panama City, Florida, Panama City Beach. I couldn't tell you the last time I saw a park with chains and a lock on them where I couldn't just show up and hit if nobody was on the field.
Yeah. Again, Las Cruces, they're locked. You have to make the reservation at least a week out. So basically, again, like I said, today's Sunday. The reservations would open tomorrow, Monday, for the following Monday through Sunday. So you got to have it not only planned out, which again, like I said, we have bad weather here, so that's a problem. You can only have 2 reservations per week. And it's $20 for a maximum of 2 hours. It's $20 or $10 an hour, maximum of 2 hours. So there's lots of limitations. So we've been working through that, and I think we've got it kind of getting squared away. We'll see here in the near future. Again, hopefully we'll be at Apodoc for the majority. If there's times where we have to get reviews done during the week, you'll probably see us at some other fields simply because until summer, Apodoc is used up for baseball season, which I completely understand. We just can't get any of the other fields. So. And as Chris mentioned, actually both of them, Swing Makeover, that's another good one. That's the one he's thinking of, I'm pretty sure, on YouTube. They do a bunch of stuff on, I think they had Ryan Harvey on there showing you how to cut swing, stuff like that. Yeah. So while I told some people I will get some videos out there of just, hey, this is what I do. I'm by no means a softball, baseball coach. I even have trouble teaching my 5-year-old how to swing the right way because I played baseball my whole life. So it's one of those things where I kind of remember what my coaches taught me in the early days, but at this point it's just, they're like, how do you swing? I'm like, I don't know. I just swing, basically, like hold your weight back or whatever. And so, but I can do my best to kind of help or at least point you in the right direction. So if you have questions, reach out and I'll be like, hey, check out this video. Harvey has I think it's Harvey's on the Swing Makeover where he talks about with your backhand as if you're throwing like a Frisbee basically through there and how to cut. So things like that, keeping your power back, all that kind of stuff. If you're a baseball player, first transitioning over, Chris will tell you that's what I was as well. If I hit a ball that was ever to the left hand, so when you're facing them to the right of the shortstop, it was shocking, basically. And it means the pitcher threw way outside and I missed because all I could do was basically paint the line or foul out at that point. So there's definitely times practice. Don't be afraid to buy a net and a tee. That's your best friend as far as that goes. And that really brings us into the last topic that we're going to discuss here today, which is when we talk about the tee and improving and things like that, there's, as we've already talked about, a bunch of different levels of softball. So really determine what level you want to play at. And there's nothing wrong with, if you decide all I want to do is be a league night, rec player, whatever it is, I want to play intramurals, just beer league, or hey, my goal is to make conference, whatever it is type of thing. That's fine. Softball is meant to be fun. It's a fun game to play. Yes, I think it's more fun if you're obviously good at it and winning and stuff like that. But if you got a good group of friends and you can go out there and just drink some beer and play league, awesome type of thing. I know Chris, one of the teams he was on this past year, I believe it was a co-ed team. They were the kind of same way. They went out, just had a bunch of fun. They would play. They'd go to the bar afterwards. That's awesome. That works great. I personally don't have, if I told my wife now I was going to join just a rec, have fun league and go out afterwards, she would kill me because, again, I'm busy enough as it is. I got 3 young kids. We both work full time, but just determine kind of where you want to be with that. And then from there, make that decision. If it's the rec level, awesome. If you want to move up though and get better, and I'll let each of them give their opinions of what you need to kind of focus on there. There's definitely things you're going to want to do. So for me, the biggest thing was BP is pretty significant. So if you have the choice of BPing once or twice a week or league, right? Either or, I'm going to tell you right now, while league can be fun, if you're somebody who wants to move up, you're going to want to take the BP piece of it. League, you're only going to get 4 to 8 swings a night, depending on how many games you're playing. A lot of times you're out there just kind of messing around, not really trying anything. So BP is going to be your best friend. And then again, don't be embarrassed to do it, but a tee and a net, like get some balls and hit off a tee and a net. You can work on a lot of stuff. There's a bunch of videos on YouTube. You can look at, hey, Slo-Pitch softball tee work. And I think the first video Chris showed me, I believe it was either Brett Helmer or Brian Wegman, I think. It was one of those guys from back in the day that were showing you basically, hey, here's where you set your tee up. This is how I work on my backside. This is how I work on this, how I work on that. And not just turning your body to do it, because that's not how you're going to swing it in a game. And so, again, whether it's rec, E, D, C, B, whatever you want to do, you want to be on the Challenge Cup team for your state. You want to go to Worlds with a team at the B level. Just understand what you want to do. And then based on that, put in the work that you need to. Or lack of work, again, if you're just going to play rec or whatever, you just want to go out there and have fun, awesome, you can do that as well. And so we've got some videos coming out here in the near future that aren't focused so much on all the, I'll say, quote unquote, high-end bats. These are still high-end bats, but they're budget bats that you can get. There's quite a few right now that I've found that are very, very good, that are costing people $100 shipped basically to get. Take that out for your rec league team. You pay $100, you got a bat the whole team can use for the whole year. And you'll see with the videos that some of these are lasting forever and they're performing pretty darn good. So again, I'll let Jay kind of touch on it and then Chris, but just on kind of their opinions of, we obviously know if you just want to stay rec and whatever, got it, just keep playing, but what it kind of takes if you are looking to kind of move up and what makes the difference. Jake, like Jake said, I think he said he's classified D at this point, but what he sees is the big difference from E in his area to D. And then for Chris, who I know has played at the C level, what he saw is the big difference from D to C. And then for both of them, they've seen military ball and understanding the big difference from being just your B level, base level guys getting picked up to an A team.
Yeah. So me personally, I have zero interest playing above the D level at this point in my life. I used to want to play higher. Before I moved back to North Carolina, I BP'd a couple times a week. I played probably 2 to 3 tournaments a month, 12 months a year, played in 2 different leagues, just spent a lot of time playing ball. And I love it. Like, don't get me wrong. I definitely enjoy playing softball, but at this point in my life, it's just not something that I guess I'm as interested in it anymore. Maybe it's the group of people I'm around. Maybe it's change of scenery. I'd much rather go out and go fishing. That's just kind of my thing. But Hendo was hitting on it. Like, if you can BP a couple times a week or go play league, if you choose to play league, just make sure that you're using that time effectively. Like, when I go play league, I'm an idiot. I want to see how far I can hit the ball, which typically means I'm going to fly out to the shortstop instead of doing what I should be working on and, try to paint the line on the right field line or, work on middle back, hitting the ball down, hitting it on a line. Don't follow what I do. I guess take that advice, because that will make you much better whenever you take the time to use that in game-like situations.
Yeah, I think for me, it's like, obviously, I think Jake hit it on the head. Is sometimes it's the people you're with. of how much ball you want to play. Like, so I was just moving to Iowa. I found a little team here. They're fun, but I'm also 47. So there's a piece of me I just can't play like I played every night. League, I played on base Monday, Wednesday. I played downtown Tuesday, Thursday, and we had a tournament Friday, Saturday. That was my weekly thing, right? So I just can't anymore. So I definitely would want to get into senior league if I could find that somewhere around here. But like he was saying, the big thing is and me and Hendo talked about it before. We kind of helped coach a team for a while. When you do go to BP, like you see a lot of guys just show up to BP and just swing the bat as hard as they can at every single pitch for just to see how far they can. You need to be working on something, right? BP is for you to work on. If you aren't a good backside hitter, that's what you do. You work on your backside in the BP. Like if you don't know how to pull it, you pull it in BP, or you do 5, 5, and 5, or whatever. Have someone help you, because there's always someone on the team that can do that, right? There's someone on the team that can hit backside. Get in their ear and be like, hey, what do you do? Like, Hendo was saying, Brian Wegman showed me how to hit backside, like by where he put the tee, and I don't say he taught me, but he showed me the principle behind it, and it made sense, right? So by no means am I like a great backside hitter, but I went from literally when I would come to bat, all you'd hear is all pull, right? And from the field, and they were 100% right. Like, yeah, I mean, they would pull the second baseman over to the shortstop, 100%. So when I learned to go a little backside, it definitely it changes your whole game. Like it's, what you want to hear when you go to bat is anywhere, so they're either yelling anywhere, because they don't know where you're going to hit it. So, but that's the thing is, take your, use your BP wisely, man. Work on, don't just for free swing for 30 swings and pop up 28 of them, and then be like, all right, I'm good. No, you're not, but enjoy your church league spinner league there. Whatever. And
really the last piece on, I mean, Chris plays on a church league team, so I don't know why he's bashing it. But really the last piece on that one too, if I'll give my number one piece of advice from what we haven't talked about already, that I've learned from me, and I still need to do this because I think I get impatient, but at batting practice is the perfect time to take pitches, right? Swing at strikes, learn the strike zone. Me and Chris had this thing back there. We're like, hey, well, if you can swing at the pitch outside the zone, then when you make a bad decision and swing at a bad pitch, at least you know how to handle the pitch and hit it. Do I think that helps me nowadays hit pretty much any pitch? Yes. However, I had a great coach this past year in military ball, Roberto Lugaro, which Lou's amazing. And he was like, Hendo, at this tournament, dude, you're hitting like 900 when you swing at a strike. Check out these 5 swings. And we had a lot of them on video and whatnot. And sure enough, I'm either out there reaching or catching it high. And on those swings, my average drops like 500. A couple of them, sure, I crushed. They went out. Feels great, but it doesn't feel great when you go and swing at a low pitch. Now you pop up, like Jake's talked about, to the shortstop, or you swing at a high pitch and you hand jam yourself, whatever it is. And so to learn the strike zone for me, I've started to take more pitches in practice, because now it's a free time to go, oh, that landed and that was a strike. At least I'm striking out in practice and not in the game, and I don't owe my whole team a 30-pack at this point type of thing. So you'll never really learn the strike zone if you don't get used to it at BP. And now I understand this very well. It's hard to have good BP pitchers. There's times where you're kind of like, man, if I don't swing at pitches, I'm never going to get anything good. If that's the case, okay, yes, you have to get some swings, but if you can find somebody who can at least throw strikes for the most part at times, and you can get used to kind of looking at those. And so that's kind of my final piece of advice there, along with making sure you're working on something. I tell everybody you don't even need to own anything other than 52s outside of tournaments anyways. Go hit 52s, because when you're working backside, if you're painting the line and it's 20 feet past first base, great. The only difference with a pro or classic am or whatever is if you hit it harder, a little more cut, sure, maybe you barely miss the line, but you're still going to learn the mechanic. Everything's going to work out. You're going to protect your bats, and you're not there to show people how far you can hit the ball. We use, and again, I say we, whatever, use pro-ams on the videos, because I want to show you how the bats would emulate kind of game performance on the game type balls, and that's the reason. But when I'm not doing the videos, I'm only swinging 52s on any of my gamers. The Brady's back there that I game, only 52s. Vanilla Grills that I gave, only 52s, all that kind of stuff. Once those are broken in, obviously they take a little more swings, but that's kind of really the final piece in that one. So just make sure if that's something you want to do, put in the work for it. Try to find a BP partner. If you really can't, T-Work will get the job done for the most part. And then from there, you can hopefully, if you don't have BP partners, that's where you want to throw in like that league night and just take those couple of live swings and really work on something. So, yeah. And real quick, before we let these guys go, I've asked Chris this kind of in the past, figure it's a perfect time on the channel, but when you go to a tournament, I know for me, and I'll give mine last, but do you have I'm a very superstitious person, so this happens every time, but before a tournament, during a tournament, whatever, do you have a go-to meal or type of food or something that you like to eat, or you just kind of, hey, I'm just gonna wing it?
Yeah, I don't typically. I don't try to really eat before a tournament. Just a Monster and some caffeine.
Yeah, Chris is a Monster guy, and then here in New Mexico, I know for a fact he was a Santa Fe burritos type of guy when he could, but that was about it when I could bring it to him. But how about you, Jake? Do you have anything that you find yourself eating more often than not at softball tournaments or before or anything like that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a big fan of, because I'm in the Carolinas, so burritos are a little bit different here than they are in New Mexico. But I'm a big fan of getting a Chick-fil-A breakfast burrito on the way Saturday morning. Got to have a Monster before I leave the house, and then typically, I don't know if I can say this on camera, but as soon as I park at the park, I'm cracking open a cold beer and starting the day off right, because that's just what average softball players do.
Yeah.
And what Jake means by that is, as soon as his car's off, keys are in his bag, and 2 feet are on the ground on the pavement, he cracks open that beer. So,
yes, exactly.
Yeah, and then perfect point for me. Again, being superstitious, I will have a Ghost energy drink before any tournament. It's both. If it's a 3-day tournament, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I'm having a Ghost, and if I need more than 2 out the day, I'm going to have a Ghost again. And I will 100% on any day other than Sunday have Chick-fil-A as well. So in the mornings, I'm going, for me personally, though, I go the egg white grill and Greek yogurt, the little Greek yogurt parfait they've got to go along with my Ghost energy drink. And then if I have a chance later in the day, I'm still going back for a spicy chicken sandwich and some nuggets. So Chick-fil-A is my go-to meal for sure. But outside of that, I'm not a big fan of eating a lot during the game. I've learned recently, though, that hydration is not enough. If you're going to play a long day, you got to have some nutrients there too. And so I just find that Chick-fil-A, while maybe higher in sodium, but at least you get some protein and whatnot. So anyways, with that being said, that's going to kind of wrap up our first episode here of Diamond Talk with Average Dudes Slowpitch. Huge shout out. Thanks to Jake and Chris for being here on the podcast. As a reminder, the goal is we don't have really a set schedule for this podcast, but we're going to bring you these just kind of as it makes sense between bat reviews. You'll see clips of different episodes on Instagram, TikTok, Reels, things like that for the shorter portions. And really, if you have questions, things you want brought up on here, if you want to participate in the podcast, let me know, whether it's in the comments, messages, whatever it might be. The comments probably works better if you have questions, so other people can be like, yeah, I have that same question and I know that I should address it. But if it's simply like, hey man, I'd like to be on your podcast, here's kind of where I play softball, what I play, all that kind of stuff, shoot me a message or whatnot, and we can chat for sure. And try to get people on here. We're going to try to get some of the bigger guys as well. Ryan Honeycutt's a guy here in New Mexico who I'm pretty sure we're going to get on here in the near future, just to kind of talk about, hey, what it takes to get to the major level. And then again, this is an Average Dudes channel, so we'll have some other ED/C type players around here as well. A couple of those guys got to travel out of state for the first time this past year at Challenge Cup, and they can talk about the difference between playing locally and kind of the Challenge Cup levels. So thanks to Jake and Chris for being here on the first episode of Diamond Talk by Average Dudes Slowpitch. Again, we hope to bring you plenty more of these. Thanks, guys, for participating, and look forward to having you guys on future episodes.
Appreciate it, Hendo.
Thank you.